Good morning, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. My name is Robert Richardson, and I'm the Chief Executive of the Institute of Hospitality. And today, I've got the absolute pleasure of leading a panel on the subject of the future of hospitality, which is people and perceptions. Now, to get that going, I'm going to introduce you to our panel of industry experts. You've already had a wonderful introduction to Sally and the good work she's doing. So if we could start with you, Chris.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name's Chris Gam, I'm the Chief Executive of Springboard. We're a hospitality charity that gives young and disadvantaged people the skills that get them ready for the world of work, get them confident and get them motivated about finding a job, and then we help them find work in hospitality.
Thank you, Chris. And Julia.
Good morning, Julia Sibley, Chief Executive, Savoy Educational Trust, grant-giving charity for the hospitality industry.
And thank you, Julia. And Sam.
Hi, good morning everybody. I'm Sam Coulstock, Head of Professional Development for the Institute of Hospitality.
Fantastic. Now, when I think about the future of hospitality, innovation is a word that comes to mind. And with that in mind, let's talk, Sally, about some of the work your business has been doing with universities and colleges, shall we?
Yeah, so obviously recently we've all been struggling with occupancy in our hotels. We stayed open from August last year, and we're running about 2.5% occupancy, then 5, then 7, then 9, then 15. And in June this year, we were headquarters of the Euros, which meant that from these average, very low occupancies, for 3 weeks, end of June, beginning of July, we were going to be 100% full. So that's a big staffing issue. There's a whole load of stuff that goes with that. And through the charter, once you get indoctrinated, you'll see that we've loaded all the universities and colleges. So I spoke to them all, and I said, would you come and send me students? And these students hadn't had work experience for 18 months, so a lot of them had really struggled. The upshot was we had 56 students that came and worked with us solidly for the 3 weeks. I gave 20 of them live-in for free, and we used University of Surrey, West London, Westminster Kingsway, Manchester, Glasgow, Grimsby. They came down and it was amazing. And I paid them £10 an hour, free live-in, and the energy, the commitment, the vibe was outstanding. From there, now we're in a situation where lots of hotels have opened and we're all struggling for staff. I'm talking to exactly the same universities and colleges, setting up graduate programs, setting up live-in work experience on rolling rotations, setting up, I've sent them my diary of events that I need. We're a big hotel, we have 2 big event rooms. Sometimes I need 150 agency staff or casuals to run dinners. So I have a bank of students coming from all the different colleges and universities on a student level. For work experience. So by connecting with further education and higher education, we're finding an amazing level of talent and commitment, and it's helping us through this employment crisis.
Fantastic. And Julia, would you have something you'd like to add about education and innovation?
Well, all of our work is trying to make the pipeline connected from education into the industry. So in the last financial year, the Trust awarded 1.7 million in grants to schools, colleges and charities to really try and encourage everybody to come into the industry. And partnership has to be the way forward. But I would caveat that by remembering Albert Einstein's definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and thinking you're going to get a different outcome. Yep. So we have to look to change some of the things we are doing. And change requires some strong people, and we're very lucky in this industry. There are some really strong people who are leading the way.
And with that, I think quite nice segue, we'll come to Chris. And Chris, what do you think about inspiring school-age talent? How do we market hospitality as a career to a 16-year-old, as example?
So we do quite a lot of work within schools through Future Chef and Careers Days and Hospitality Showcase Days. One of the things we definitely see is that so much emphasis is put on higher education to school leavers, and not on further education, whether it's apprenticeships or coming into the world of work. And the type of messages we get across is really selling the benefits that hospitality can exclusively and uniquely offer. So things like progression is one of the things we often talk about, and how you can say in the 3 years that you'd go off to university and take on a huge amount of debt, in that time you can perhaps join the industry on a starting salary and been promoted a couple of times and be earning a really great opportunity, a really great salary. You could be earning £30,000 salary as a supervisor or a junior manager. We talk about things like not everyone wants to be working 9 to 5 office jobs, and while people would often throw work-life balance as one of the challenges that hospitality has to challenge, and we saw it on the hoteliers charter. If you flip that on the head and say it's an industry where you can start at 7 in the morning but finish at lunchtime, and fit around your other commitments, fit around study, fit around if you're a working parent as well. Things like you can get a set of skills that take you all over the world, and you can travel with a set of hospitality skills. You can apply it in London or in Manchester or Dubai, anywhere in the world, and you can receive on-the-job training that would apply to every hospitality business has a sales function, a marketing function, a finance, a people, and you can really find what you love within the hospitality industry. They're some of the messages that we certainly put across to 16-year-olds.
Brilliant. And Sam, once we've hopefully got these 16-year-olds in our business, what do we think they want? What do our teams want in 2021 and above?
It's really interesting. I'll just carry on from what Chris was saying as well. It's not just the 16-year-olds that we need to convince, this is also their parents and their teachers and the people who influence them. So just like Sally's daughter's friend's mum, we need to get to people like her and convince her that this is an industry that we want to do. And one of the ways of doing that is absolutely backing the charter, but also making sure we look after our people when they're in, and that we professionally develop them, that we continue that throughout their lifetime of career, because every day is a school day, right? So every day in work should be a learning day. And I think that's what, when we talk to young people, when we talk to people entering the industry at any different point in their careers, is that they're always hunger to learn and learn something new and have a new experience, and that be in life or in work. And that's what young people and people that are entering our industry are generally looking for.
Can I just pop in?
Yeah.
There's a situation where I've been ringing the colleges lately just because they're going to help me through the rest of our season. We've got a busy conference season. And I was speaking to one of the teachers at Westminster Kingsway, and she was saying that she's just had her intake come back. I think 23rd of September they all came back, and she's got 3 of her third-year apprentices are leaving the industry because of how they've been used over the last 2 or 3 months. So we have to change how we treat our people, because it's a crying shame that these people, they've chosen hospitality, they've done 3 years, they've worked in industry, and now we've screwed them and they're going to leave the industry. And I spoke to another college, and they were saying they've got a pastry chef, top pastry chef, and who's an apprentice, been doing his stuff, working for a cracking guy. He's also leaving the industry. So if there's hoteliers in the audience, think very carefully how you're using your team now. Find a different way, be kind, be gentle, work out, we cannot keep up ridiculous hours. It's not fair, it's not right. We are burning our own potential. And that mother in Buckinghamshire will be proved right unless we sort our own house out.
And if I may, Sally, that comes on to a point that I really want to talk about today, and that's how do we balance the owner expectation to be profitable with full occupancy in full restaurants against the need to be an employer of choice, especially in the current climate. So if I can get some thoughts on that?
I think it's that transparency. It's talking to an owner seriously and having them truly understand that if you want to keep people, you have to achieve this balance, and you have to be kind, and you have to be resourceful and sensible. But if you cannot run your... I'm opening one of our restaurants 5 days a week. 5 days a week is fine. I lose the Sunday and the Monday, but my team have got 2 clear days off. I don't stress them. It's fine. If I stretched it to 7 days and get greedy, I've then screwed them. I need an extra 3 staff to cover it, or I expect them to work longer hours or not have days off. It's not sustainable. So it's having those honest conversations with owners and making sure they clearly understand the revenue versus the people and the resources, and finding that balance.
And what about owners that wouldn't necessarily agree with that? Sorry, Chris, I'll come straight back to you in a second. But I think we can say there are operators out there that are chasing profit and chasing occupancy, and regrettably, people are secondary to that. So what would you say to them if you had the opportunity?
Politely, exactly.
Politely.
There's no children present, so
Yeah.
I'm sure we can...
I would tell them to come and work with me,
yeah,
to come and actually see a shift, to come and get out of their little ivory towers and walk the floor and talk to the staff and understand. I'd tell them to speak to the rest of the industry, read the papers properly, and talk to the frontline team members. And I think if they had a day in my shoes, they would change their perspective.
brilliant. And sorry, Chris, you look like you wanted...
Wow. I was going to say, it's really tricky. And I know we're not in normal circumstances right now with the staffing challenges we're facing, but I was in this very room at a different trade show a week ago, and I was chatting to the chief executive of quite a large group of restaurants in London, and he was saying, because he's okay staffing-wise, it means he's been able to stay open 7 days a week at the moment, where lots of his competitors around him in central London are closing to 5 days a week, perhaps, or 4 days a week. As a result of that, his trade is actually going up. Is up on normal levels because he's picking up on the Mondays, the Sunday, or probably Mondays and Tuesdays. He's picking up the trade that aren't going to his competitors, which means that he's able to pay. He's slightly more profitable. He can pay his staff slightly more. He can. It's chicken and egg, but it's a really hard one. But we're certainly seeing, to your point, I'm certainly hearing about lots of employers trying to move to a 4-day week or a 39-hour week just to treat their staff better. But it's really hard.
It is, and I think it's unarguable that right now our people are our biggest asset, and we do need to prioritise them. And not every employer is like Sally, and hopefully like I was when I was an operator before I took this job. But there are some operators out there that really are just chasing the bottom line. I hope if anyone takes anything from today, it's that there is a better path to that, and hopefully through events like that, like this, we can educate them. And I think culture and value comes from the top. And certainly things like the Hoteliers Charter, which we'll come on to shortly, are important, but it's actually indoctrinating the mindset. It's tragic that there are, as you said earlier, Sally, people out there that do not value the aims of the Charter. But just coming back to education for a little bit, and I'm going to go to Chris and Julia here. Earlier in the year, the Savoy Educational Trust granted Springboard £1 million. What's that being used for to bring people into our industry, if I can ask?
So Springboard launched a project back at towards the earlier parts of the pandemic. We saw a challenge where there was already not enough staff in hospitality, and with Brexit plus the challenges that COVID brought about, redundancies and not enough young people coming into the industry, we saw these combining to be quite a major staffing challenge. We launched a project called Springboard to 2022. It's our biggest, most ambitious ever project that we've ever run at Springboard, and we're very lucky that Savoy Educational Trust joined us as the lead partner in the project, which meant that we could kick things off and get the ball rolling on the project. So broadly, our goal is to get 10,000 young people into work in hospitality by the end of 2022, which I know doesn't really touch the sides on the scale of the problem the industry is facing now, but these are 10,000 young people who are all unemployed, all face multiple barriers in life. We're bringing them into the industry, training them up, giving them the skills, and then helping them find a job. We've just this month hit the first major milestone of we've just got 1,000 people into work in hospitality over the last couple of months.
And sorry, can that have a round of applause, please,
Thank
everyone? Work our way down.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. But in terms of what that money's been spent on, it's delivering actual hands-on training courses, but also, for example, we've just spent £100,000 on social media marketing directly to young people on the places where they hang out, like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, selling the industry to them, selling those exact benefits that we spoke about, and bringing them in, getting them to come to CareerScope, create a profile, and that's the gateway onto our programs, training them up and then get them into work.
Perfect. And Julie, would you like to add something there?
Well, the trustees, like everybody else, were very, very concerned by the pandemic and the problems it was causing. And so this fitted in very well with their 60th year when Springboard came with the application. So they decided to make a milestone for their 60th year and give them £1 million for the talent pipeline programme for Springboard to 2022, because they're also very aware how the young were being adversely affected. So a really good programme, and the numbers are growing. They're doing well.
And look, we're really grateful. We love working with Savoy Educational Trust as a partner. They're playing a fantastic role in supporting the project and supporting the wider industry.
Wonderful. Okay. So I want to move the conversation on slightly to something that I think we could fill a day talking about. But if you look at industry press at the moment, salaries are rising at a huge rate. High street chains are reducing operations. One last week announced that they were giving Boxing Day off to their teams. Salaries have gone up enormously. How do we actually compete in an ever-moving marketplace? And as the operator of the group salary, I'm going to first come to you on that.
In all honesty, I think it's a bit of a reckoning. I think it's actually quite good, even though I'm trying to balance my payroll percentage to revenue at the moment, and it's pretty tricky. But if you align your average rates that some of the hotels are achieving to your hourly pay to some of the frontline staff, it's correct that everything is shifting. I was paying my team $9.21, which was 30p over the minimum wage. I'm now paying casuals $10.85, which is London living wage, and full-timers £11, because I still want the full-timers to have a little bit more push. And I'm having to adjust everything up. I have got our owners to agree to a 6% pay increase across the board, which doesn't sound much, but actually, if you spread it, it's okay. We have a very transparent service charge. Everything goes to the staff. I think it's a reckoning, and I think it's about time. So I'm not uncomfortable with it.
Good.
I think owners have got to understand that you will not be getting back to the GOP percentages that you've been used to for 2 or 3 years as we rebalance. And as long as the recovery continues, we will at least all be in profit, which, last year, you can forget it. We're on a 23% before we break even in terms of occupancy, and we were losing shed loads every month. We're now in a profit situation. It's just the level of profit owners were expecting is not going to be there for 2 or 3 years. And I think it's a reckoning, and I think it's a good thing for our industry, and they need to look at the long-term recovery and sort it.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move that to Chris, if I may. You do a lot of work with businesses out there via Springboard, so would you have a view on that subject?
Yes, but it's from the conversations we're having with businesses and just people I'm chatting to at the moment, they're certainly using salary as one of the levers they pull to increase applications in some problem areas at the moment. Spoke to a hotelier who's paying his KPs £2 an hour more than he was a couple of years ago, and that's having an impact on certainly in that role, but also his wider payroll costs. Similarly, I was chatting to someone else who was saying that housekeepers is a real challenge for them, so they're pulling that lever and it's increasing their applications in that role. I'm also hearing lots of other things that other ways that businesses are innovating, so things like running buses from more rural areas, bringing back live-in positions. I even spoke to a hotelier that's talking about or thinking about building a hotel just for staff to service a couple of different hotels.
Brilliant. And sorry, Sally, you
I
want to
did.
speak?
It's not all about money, though.
No.
It's not all about money. The working conditions, developing, kindness, no bullying, no shouting, training, mentoring, coaching, all of that is part of it. It's not all about money. And I think it's that whole work environment.
Couldn't agree more, and that leads on to a question I've got for you, Sam. How about SMEs? So your high street 40-seater cafe, how do they compete?
Yeah, it's very difficult with salary to compete against the big boys that have got that margins to play with. So I think they have to be a little bit more creative around maybe a little bit more flexible working, job sharing. It's not all about they're your shifts for the week, and giving people shifts long enough in advance. So, not having your shift being told to you what you're doing next week, because if you have a family or, you need that flexibility, you need time to plan. So it's having all of those, just treating people like adults and humans rather than, just a number on a spreadsheet, and making sure that you find ways to develop them. That could be a formal route or it could be an informal route, but making sure that they've got access to a number of different things that might not necessarily be salary, but they feel part of your family and they're contributing, and then at some point down the line when you are making a little bit more money, you can give that back to your team. So if you are an independent, and when I've worked for independent and family run businesses, I often find that there's a loyalty there to the family, and you feel part of that family, and you work for the owner, and every penny really does matter, from the grain of salt that you throw away to the bed linen that you might buy. That's really important, because without that profitability none of us would have a job. So it's getting that, communicating with your teams all the way through, I think.
And I love that phrase family. That's something I'm hearing more and more, so I think that's something that should be encouraged. Julia?
I'm just going to say the other thing, exactly, it's not all about salary. What we've got to plug are the pockets of good practice and the good news stories to squash the bad news stories, and really promote the career progression and career pathways and the incredible responsibility these people can get, and the really good progression routes they can get really, really early on. It's certainly not all about money. It's about the fantastic journey they can have when they're there.
And sorry, if I just carry on from that as well, Julia, is that we've got a massive challenge in hospitality, which we've always had, in about attracting people into it. But now we're competing against all the other industries out there that have also got labour and skill shortages that we're also now competing against. So construction, HGV drivers, they're in the news and they're getting the highlight and the spotlight. We need to be out there doing the same stuff and promoting that good stuff. And every time there's a bad news stories, and there always will be, we need to come back stronger and say that's that much of our industry. The rest of it is this great stuff.
And I think you're right. Reputationally, the industry unfortunately doesn't have the best press at the moment. Good news does not sell newspapers. Something Sally and I spoke about recently was a movie coming out called Boiling Point. And if you haven't seen it, the trailer's on YouTube, and if you've ever worked in hospitality, I promise you won't recognise it, and it was dreadful. But if we were going to pitch hospitality as a product, which I think coming forward we're going to have to, how would you do that? And you're nodding at me, Julia, so I'm going to go to you with that, if I may.
Okay, how would I pitch it as a product?
As a product.
Fantastic opportunities. The sky is the limit. You can work around the world, and your employer will be incredibly flexible, so you can do the hours that suit, and you'll be well rewarded for what you do.
Brilliant. And I think that leads us on quite nicely to revisiting the Hotelier's Charter. Now, to me, the Hotelier's Charter is a promise to be kind. And that's actually quite a bold statement. And what does it say about us as an industry that we need people to make that promise? So, Sally, you came up with it. You can start.
I think it did start as a rant, I think, as I said right at the start. What the public perception is of our industry is there's a particular chef that's made an industry out of bullying kitchens. And bullying chefs. Is there any wonder there's a chef shortage in our industry, in our country? No one counters that. No one in the public arena counters that that's the hospitality industry. And there is so much more, and somehow we don't actually get that message out. And I think if we can break down the barriers and we can show secondary schools, get them into our local hotels, get them doing pastries classes, mocktail making, breaking down the barriers of walking into a decent hotel and understanding what goes on, changing the perceptions of parents that there's a vibrant, lovely industry here that is, I mean, God, how much more exciting to work in hospitality than it is to be a long-distance truck driver or in the care industry. You know, I've served royalty. I've worked with rugby, the rugby final, the cricket. If you like sport, it's really good. You know, I've met Take That the first time around when they were in my lift in the Conrad, getting their own breakfast because they didn't like to order room service. They could barely shave. You know, I've been in the lift with Prince, and you know, our industry is amazing, but we never hear those stories. We never hear those stories. We talk about long hours, poor pay, and bullying. And we have to turn that around, and we have to promote ourselves much more, because there is no better industry in terms of every day is different. You're dealing with the Joe public, and it's fun. It's heaps of fun. But instead, we allow the press to dictate, and we allow certain high-profile people to represent our industry negatively without challenging them. And I think we have to stop that and man up, grow up, and be much more vocal about the positives that there are in hospitality.
Perfect answer. I think we can agree there. And does anyone else have a view on that?
I was just going to say, with what Sally has said, what the challenge is for everybody sitting out there today is to take that message and phone up your local school today, tomorrow, and say, I want to come in, talk to your students about our industry. Just go and do it. It's timed as we've come to the end of talking about the problem.
Yeah.
We know what the problem is. Just go out and do it. Schools will open their arms to you.
They do.
Because all you have to do is say one word to them, and it's Ofsted. If you say Ofsted to a school, it's like saying TripAdvisor to a hotel manager. And they will say, oh, okay, give us a call. They'll come in. Can we come in? Can we come and talk to your students about careers in the hospitality industry, whether that be all the different entry routes? They'll have a career strategy that they'll be following, and they need industry across all sectors to come in and talk to their students. They have to have engagements. So you're doing the school a favour. Don't be frightened of going into the schools. Just phone them up and do it. And I challenge every one of you in this room to go away and do that today. Because if you don't, we'll be sitting here next year going, what are we doing? Still can't find any staff.
And Chris, you look like you've got something to add.
Yeah, we've got a really good framework with which you can do that. We've just launched Springboard Ambassadors. We want to create an army of hospitality champions who can go out and promote the industry, everything from doing it on social media or talk to your customers through to going into your schools or holding careers days or holding industry visits. So everyone in the industry, I'd say, just Google Springboard Ambassadors, sign up, it's free. We give you a bit of training for if you do want to go and do a careers talk in a school. But yeah, we want to sign up 2,000 next year. So and we've got about a quarter of the way there so far, just over.
And you'll be here throughout the day if anyone in the audience wants to talk to you about that?
Yep.
So I would encourage everyone to grab hold of this man and spend some time with him today and actually make him work. So, okay, one last question for me before we go to the audience. If my panel here were to give you one top tip to take back into your businesses today, what would that be? And I'm going to go from farthest to closest. So, Sally.
I think if you are working in a hotel and they're not a member of the charter, ask them why not. If you are looking for a job and you want to be in hotels, then in the interview process, ask, are you a member of the Hoteliers Charter? If not, why not? It's an employees market, so challenge them to make sure they're better. It's only general managers that I allow to sign in, because I believe the culture comes from the general managers. So I think our industry needs to self-improve, and if our employees are asking our employers to do better, they will.
Brilliant. And Chris?
I'd say check out an initiative called Hospitality Apprenticeship Week. So it's taking place 18th of October. It's a really good initiative, and it's great timing because the government's just extended it. It's going to be, announced it's going to be extending the apprenticeship funding. But it's the whole industry has come together. They've produced a hospitality apprenticeship hub with lots of advice, with jobs, and it's just an opportunity to showcase your business to your customers. That's not marketing saying come and spend your money with us, come and buy from us. It's saying look at my amazing people, and you showcase your apprenticeships. But go to the hub, the Hospitality Apprenticeship Hub, and there's lots of kits, there's suggested posts, there's everything you need to get involved. But yeah, great opportunity.
Terrific. And Julia?
Back to the talent pipeline, engage locally, form a partnership. If you don't like what your local college is doing, get your department, your heads of department to go in and become visiting lecturers, get the visiting lecturers into your establishment to work with you.
Brilliant, fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Sam, who looks like he's had his wings clipped there.
Yeah, Julia's nicked what I was going to say. We should have rehearsed this. I would say just develop your people, keep developing them, keep looking after them, keep helping them achieve and reach the stars.
Perfect, brilliant. That's a great place to end as we go into questions from the audience. So is there anyone here today that would like to ask a question? Sir? So, mic's just coming round to you now.
Hi, my name is Vaughan Nichols. I'm developing a resort out in Greece. I've got a question. A lot of what you've been talking about is linking in with local education. How are we linking in with European hotels, hotel schools, and so on? I mean, sure, we've had Brexit, but at the end of the day, you know, a lot of our employees in the hotel industry here in the UK are European nationals. So how are we linking those two together?
Well, I think you're looking at Sally there. So,
listen, I've always been working with the Swiss hotel schools, the Amsterdam, Netherlands hotel schools, working on internships and graduate programs. So I think all that needs to continue. We need our European immigration, and I'm hopeful that the government will at some point in time get a life and open up that door again. I understand we shouldn't hold our breath, though, because I think they feel this current crisis helps them in their levelling up agenda. So I don't think we should think they're going to fix it for us. They want us to go through this pain and help them level up. In terms of the Hoteliers Charter, it is a UK initiative, but the European Hoteliers Association and HSMAI they're all very familiar with it, and they're very keen to move it on. I think it's important. I would advocate it, but I have a full-time job, so it has to take legs of its own within Europe and to try and continue the good effort. But I think the cross-fertilisation of our teams would be brilliant. And I think, the more we can do together. I'm an independent hotel. I've got nowhere to send my team. So if we wanted to do stuff with you, great. We can swap staff, we can do stuff, and it can become part of a program. It's about working smartly, but having the same values and the same cultures.
And does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that?
I was just going to say, from the Institute of Hospitality's point of view, we're a global institute, and we work with universities and colleges and hotel schools from around the world, providing them with education resources, student membership. So no matter where you are in the world, the Institute will be with you throughout your career. So whether you need mentoring or you need resources, that's there for you no matter where you are in the world.
Perfect. And does anyone else have a question at all? We've got the gentleman in the blue was first with his hand up there.
Hello, thank you. Excellent presentations. I've really enjoyed listening to what you said.
Thank you.
I think it's great to hear about the service side of what you do and the quality, and also the staff well-being, which is so important for the industry. But what I wanted to ask was how you might be looking to embed sustainability into the vocational educational space, because it's an area that's really important. I think it'll really engage your students and the young people, and with the industry and the businesses I've worked with, empowering young people to make the difference and help lead the transformation of the businesses is important, and I think be something I'd be keen to help you with. Yeah.
Perfect. And Julie, would you like to take that?
It's a question we ask on everybody that applies to the Trust for funding, and we ensure that they are looking at sustainability, and then they feed that through to the students when they get the grant. Yes, very important area. Yeah.
Perfect.
From the Institute's point of view, everything that we're doing now is being linked to the United Nations sustainability goals. So, you know, whatever that might be in terms of professional development or sustainability outputs, we're linking that to the United Nations sustainability goals. So that's a real clear language that what we're doing globally is linking to those global goals as well. So that will transpire down to everything that we do as an institute, in turn influence what's being taught in education, and in terms operators that are members and fellows, the CPD that they'll be getting also links back to those sustainability goals. So we're using that as our overarching strategy of what we're doing to drive the agenda. So it's at the heart of everything we do, absolutely.
Perfect. I think we've got time for one last question. So the lady at the back there.
Had his
what are you doing to attract the considerable disabled workforce into your organisations?
Sally?
Yeah, I'm really one of my best girlfriends, a tetraplegic, so she's been to my hotel and it's helping. But I think it's a really important question, and I think new hotels they're legislated for. We're an old hotel. We've done an awful lot with trying to be more accessible and inclusive.
She's talking about staff, I think.
I meant the disabled workforce rather than disabled guests.
Yeah, okay. Do you know, they used to always keep lift jobs for returning servicemen who had lost limbs, and that's all gone now. We have employed autistic people. We have employed people that are hard of hearing and visually impaired. I struggle with physically impaired, the way the building is, and I would love to be able to make it more accessible, but in all honesty, I haven't found a way yet. But my switchboard area is somewhere that it worked very well, not only with accessible team members. I also am very, very happy to employ the over 60s. I think there's a lot to be said for maturity, calmness, a wise brain, doorman, any position really for some older team members to join a very young staff actually is good in mentoring as well. But I have a problem with steps all over my back of house that stop me getting a wheelchair team member on the workforce at the moment.
Chris, would you like to jump in there?
To add to that, Springboard works with people who experience all sorts of barriers to work, whether it's disability or various different health issues or long-term unemployment, or they've experienced drug addiction or homelessness. And to add to your point, I'd probably a plea to the industry is, if we're going to resolve the current staffing challenges we're facing, the industry has to engage with all different types of workers, not just the brightest young people straight out of university who will join you and give you a short bit of service and then leave again. We've found that Springboard trainees who probably wouldn't normally be at the front of the queue for jobs typically are so engaged, they're so motivated, and they stay twice as on average twice as long as the industry average. So one further plea to the industry is really do consider all types of different workers to fill your vacancies.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end, as I've just had the delicate signal to wrap it up. So thank you very, very much to our audience today. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much to our team of industry experts.